Hello guys, Nigel here again. So today what have we got? Today is Friday the 27th of March 2020 and it's another slightly colder but sunny day in Gloucester, which is nice. That's my daily weather report for you. So where are we? I left you last time with basically getting myself ready for doing the diff and talking about things we need to check and measure and stuff, and today I've got a special treat for you. What I'm going to do is talk about cutting off the original diff pan and preparing the actual diff pan itself, the Gwyn Lewis diff pan for welding. We'll do some welding, but I have got a surprise. What I've had a brainwave is what I'm going to do is cut half the diff pan off first of all, and then we can look at the internals of the diff and you'll see the relationship of the crown wheel to the diff cover and everything. So let's see how that goes. We'll get you over to where I'm working. It's not on the bench today. It's going to be in the middle of the factory floor. So let's get and have a look. Right, so here we can see we've got the axle is mounted to the frame that I made, and then we've got it strapped onto 2 lengths of steel, and then they're strapped onto the lifting table. So really handy. I can got this table. The wheels are locked, so it won't move around, and I can lift it up or lower it down as I please, and get it to the right height for comfortable working, so no more bad knees or anything. I've got it all marked out where I need to cut it, so that's all sorted. Over here is the Artec plasma cutter. Artec are a company in Gloucestershire, and this is the Artec Plasma 30C, and you'll see it working in a minute. It really is a wonderful little bit of kit. I wouldn't be without it now. It's you know, for what it costs, it's just you can use a disc cutter, you know, 1mm wheel on an angle grinder, but it's just so much better. It's less sparks. Okay, you've got the heat. It's, you know, those wheels can explode in your face. There's all sorts of hazards with them. With the plasma cutter, you've got the heat and the sparks. That's about it really. So that's the way I go now. Okay, so we can see here where I'm going to actually cut it. I'm going to cut it obviously around here. Okay. And I thought I'd go all the way around and remove the pan, but I thought what I'll do first of all, I'm going to cut halfway around here, and I'm going to cut up over the top, and then we're going to put the diff in, and we'll see how close everything is, and just how risky it is with one of these standard diff covers. See how much room we've got, how much big of it, you know, what sort of size dent we can have. But also it'd just be interesting to see, because I think the Gwyn Lewis diff cover, because of its shape, I think it might help the oil flow around the diff. More of that in a minute. Okay, so I'm wearing a mask, not because of anything you might think, but purely because it stops the welding visor steaming up. There could be some nasties in the paint or whatever, so I'm wearing a mask to stop me breathing that in. So basically we'll make a start, and I'll just start cutting this away. We'll go over the top first of all, and we'll see how we get through the metal. Need to mess around with the settings a bit probably. So we take the plasma cutter. What I'm going to do is start from here so you can see what I'm doing. So wish me luck. There we go. So you saw that in real time. There's the half the diff cut off. There's half the diff. We can see the hole there, and basically, as you can see, we've got a where are we? You've got a non sort of sharp edge. It's a bit higgledy-piggledy because I haven't got a very steady hand, but it's not sharp, it won't cut you. We didn't make any noise, and it was done in probably, I don't know, 10% of the time, 20% of the time. So you can see these things are worth their weight in gold. So we've got to grind all this away at some point. I probably won't do it now, but we've got to do it at some point, and we'll get this soon back out. And to get this, or get rid of this, there's a bead of weld here. We're going to get rid of that, and then we'll have this. You can see the, if you can get in there, you can see the 6mm thick steel. You can see how thin this is here. I'll break the slag away, which I'll do in a second, and I'll show you how thin that is. Right then, from now on, this will be a lesson in differentials. So here's the bit I just cut off, so we can remove that, and we can see inside here we've got the crown wheel, pinions down in there, and here we've got our planet gears and our sun gears. And if you're new to my channel and you've watched the Tamiya RC build, you'll recognise those gears in there as the ones we added in the model. So this being the front axle, the actual crown wheel will rotate in that direction as I'm turning it now. It feels quite rough actually. So yeah, that's the way it'll rotate. So basically you can see I put a line here and a line here. That's going to be the oil level when it's sat normally. Okay, so the oil level is going to be around about here. So what it's going to do as it goes, it's going to push the oil up this way. It's going to push it up to feed the pinion bearings. So that's fine. The only problem is any oil that picks up here is going to come off of the crown wheel, and it's going to hit there and just die. It's just going to stop because it's not going to flow. It's just going to hit that corner and just form a turbulence and not really do anything. Any oil that's down here will get pushed back and lubricate the pinion bearings. The problem comes with the rear. Now with the rear, you can see that any oil that's going to be flung up off of the crown wheel is going to hit here and just drop or whatever. If I think of it, I'll put a link. There is a guy in America who's done this with a clear diff pan, and he's actually got the car up on, or a truck up on the ramps, and you can see what's happening as the oil hits these sharp areas. Now if we imagine for a minute this is the rear axle, this is the way it's going to be going. Okay, so basically the oil is getting flung from the crown wheel into the pinion bearings, and I've got an empty diff casing which I can show you in a minute what's going on. So that's absolutely fine, but the front diff goes this way, so basically it's going to be an issue. So it's just basically forcing the oil up. Now when I took my rear diff apart, I can tell you that the nose bearing was a lot worse condition than the next bearing on the pinion. So obviously there's not enough oil getting up there. Something's not quite right. This is the shape of the standard diff pan. This is the shape of the Gwyn Lewis diff pan, and as you can see, there's actually, I don't know if you can see it, there's a cutout in this thick sheet metal. There's a cutout here, so the oil is going to be flung off of in the rear. It's going to be flung off, and it's not going to have this corner to stop it. It's going to carry on going round, and it's going to get thrown much more neatly into your pinion bearings. Now this is my opinion, this isn't fact-based or anything, but if you've just got to look at the clearance. If you look at the clearance around the pinion, you've got much more room for the oil to be flung around and over the top and into the pinion bearings. You're increasing the capacity slightly, not that makes a lot of difference. But the other thing to look at here, look how close the crown wheel is to the casing. Now with the Gwyn Lewis one, it's not going to be a lot of difference, because remember this is the outside profile, and the Gwyn Lewis diff is 6mm thick, so it's not going to really improve the clearance, but it's going to be a hell of a lot stronger, because this is less than 2mm. It's about 1.75mm thick here, and this is 6mm, the Gwyn Lewis one. So, and also when you look at the profile here, this one, I'll move the camera in a minute so you can see, but this one runs away, so if you hit it here, it's not got, I can't even get my little finger in there, in that gap, so I can just about get it around in there. So you hit that with a rock, your day's over. Whereas with the Gwyn Lewis one, because it's flat and goes off to the side, you've got a lot more room. So you've got more oil capacity, better oil flow around the diff, and it's stronger. That's why I'm fitting this diff cover. Right, so here I've got an empty diff casing, and as I showed you just now, the crown wheel's in here. Okay, so it sits in these two little slots here. So on the rear diff, the crown wheel's going this way, so it's throwing oil into this hole here. This is a web, and that hole leads into a hole in between the two bearing races. So the more oil you can get in there, the better you're going to get oil feed to your bearings. On the front diff, it's going to rely on the oil being pushed by the rotation of the crown wheel going this way. It's going to be pushed into this bearing and through into the next bearing. There's also a hole here. If I can get it, where is it? There it is. You can see there's a hole in here. If I can get it in the light, there's a hole here, and that's between the seal and the front bearing, so that allows the oil to go back in. Okay, so there we go. So this is the bottom of the diff here. Remember, front and rear is the same. So this is the bottom, this is the top. So as I say, on the rear, your oil's being flung in there. On the front, it's being pushed around with the rotation into that bearing. Now, like I say, anything that's smooth, we all know aerodynamics and stuff and fluid flow. If you can smooth out any sharp edges or sharp corners, you improve flow immensely. So this Gwyn Lewis diff cover is, as I say, instead of having that kind of section for the oil to flow around, yeah, you've got that kind of section for the oil to flow around. So the oil's going to flow around these angles on here. It's going to flow around these angles around the diff a lot better than it's going to flow with this. Now, this doesn't really matter for 99.9% of us, and Land Rover diffs are lasting absolutely fine, I think. But I think where it does come into play is you're probably going to produce less heat, less aeration. So for rally raid guys, it's going to be a godsend, or anybody that's doing high speed activities with the Land Rover. Trials guys, it doesn't matter, you could put a bloody bean can on the front, it doesn't really matter, does it? But obviously trials guys need them to be tough. So, you know, there is no negative really to this Gwyn Lewis heavy duty diff pan, other than I guess it's a bit of faff to fit it. But you know, I enjoy this stuff. Right, so here we go. That's the whole diff pan removed now, as you can see. Need to be a little bit careful with the plasma cutter. You can see here I've just sort of scraped into the actual steel here of the actual axle itself, but it's like 6mm thick, so I'm not going to worry about that. We're going to be grinding all this away anyway. One thing to remember, I think late TD5s, definitely Pumas. Something is worth noting, and we'll sort of go off subject a little bit here. This, get the plasma cut out of the way, this bracket here, got one this side and one this side. This is the panhard bar fitting for a right hand drive, and this is the panhard bar fitting for left hand drive. Now, you can use this, the Gwyn Lewis, there it is, the Gwyn Lewis diff cover, you can use that on right or left hand drive. The only thing is, with the late TD5 I think, and definitely the Puma, you need to be careful with this bracket. The best thing, I'm going to cut it off here, you can see I've marked it, I'm going to cut it off and then grind it away and then put something back in there, maybe this or something else, because the Gwyn Lewis diff cover is wider than the stock one, so that is going to be in the way. So I'm going to cut it, and that weld there, because it's like something off a World War II tank. I mean, I've seen welds like that on a Sherman tank. It's crazy. But yeah, basically I'm going to cut that off and grind that weld away and then replace some stiffness in there. You probably don't really need to bother at all, but I'm going to put something there. It's there for a reason. It's probably there to stiffen the panhard bar mounting for a left-hand drive truck, but it's also probably helping with this radius arm mount as well. So I'm going to cut that off now. The other thing to note about these, I'll work on this side so it's easier to get to. These are 16mm. Now, if you look at Pumas and late TD5s, they have a larger diameter panhard rod and it's straight. The earlier ones are cranked around the diff. Even the right-hand drive are cranked around the diff, and they don't need to be. So yeah, it's worth noting these are a 16mm bolt, so you'll have a 16mm bush in there and a larger panhard bar. So bear that in mind when you start buying bushes and panhard bars and polyurethane bush kits and stuff. You need the one with the 16mm bolt. The earlier one's a 14mm bolt. Okay, so bear that in mind. I'm going to go on and cut this off now, and then I'm going to get a grinder out and start doing some grinding. And there we go, that's it all cleaned up. That took about, I don't know, half an hour with the grinder. And whenever I use a grinder, I use these flat wheels. This is a 40 grit, I think it's a 40 grit, yeah, it's a 40 grit. They don't last as long as a grinding wheel, but they give a much smoother finish. They don't kind of dig in, they will round off an edge rather than dig into it. But also they're a lot quieter. You've got the noise of the grinder obviously, and I've got cinema neighbours. But you know, this against the metal is a lot quieter than a grinding wheel. And then I've basically finished it off with a little battery drill and these little 3M sanding discs. And they're amazing. You'll find these on eBay. You need to get the holder as well, which they don't last long. If you catch the edge, it just rips them to shreds. But they're really good, and they're good for sort of finishing off any metal work or anything, or polishing up welds. They're really good for that. So that's all done. Obviously I've had to give the inside a clean out. Now I've got the sump plug in there, the drain plug, to cover the threads up. And also, and then we've got the Gwyn Lewis diff pan, which will fit on now, and as you can see it's a lot wider than the original. Now I may have to cut into this bracket here, because I've got a feeling it's pushing it over to the side, so I may just have to cut a section into that and then weld into it. But we shall see. I've made enough noise today, so I won't be doing any more on this today. But as you can see, one of the things with the Gwyn Lewis diff pan, it's not flat on the back face, which could be part of the reason why it pulls. So what I think I'm going to do is actually weld all this up, okay, polish it, weld the inside. When it's all done, I'll get it up on the mill and I'll mill the back face flat, so it's going down flat, and then I'll put the relief on there because I like to weld into a gap. So so there we go, guys. That's it, coming along nicely. So I don't know, let's get some welding on this diff pan. Okay, just taking this opportunity to measure up and make sure I can get the cover on square and everything. So I've put a piece of tape here across the centre line where the join is, and then measured across here, and it's roughly, it's about 204 mil, something like that. So I've come across, measured 100 mil from each side, marked a line in the centre, and then gone straight across. And as you can see, save you having to do this, this edge here, where you got this cut out for the diff, for the crown wheel, that edge is the centre line. So there you go, that's easy to pick up. And then I've measured across here, to get the centre line on there. And then basically we can put the diff cover on, and we can line it up, come around the other side, make sure it doesn't fall off. We can line it up on there like that, and then I've got a centre line here and a centre line there, and we can mark it there, line that up with the weld, and then we know we're somewhere handy. Now obviously all axles differ, so you need to look at the height of your diff plug, so measure it beforehand. The Puma axle is roughly 6 millimeters below centre. The actual diff plug is a lot higher than the rear axle, for instance. So make sure you get your diff plug in the right place. So there we go. So you can see the centre line there, and the centre line is of the plug should be about 6 mil below the weld line. So you can just, I mean, we can put it dead centre that, or we can just a couple of mil higher than it should be, and that gets us in the right place. The thing is, this diff pan gives you so much more oil capacity anyway, and as long as the oil's below the tubes, you're absolutely fine. What you don't want is the oil to be sat in the tubes when stationary, because that's when you start to get your leaks. So so yeah, we can play with it and do what we want and get it where we want it. Really, you've got that's really as high as you want to go, and then that's really as low as you want to go. So you've got a good sort of 15-18 millimeters of movement there to get it where you want it. So it shouldn't be too much trouble. But as I say, as long as the oil's below your tubes, doesn't really matter. Okay, so time to start welding. Now, as you can see, this is fresh. I haven't done any welding on it at all. So you're gonna experience setting up the welder with me. Now I've turned the wire speed up to about 50% and I've got the voltage up to about 7. This is an IGBT mid 180 from Artec, again Artec welding, and it's a wonderful bit of kit. It's a 180 amp MIG, and it's an inverter MIG, it's not a transformer MIG, and they're a lot smoother and they have a far better duty cycle. So basically, as I say, I've got this on, I'll turn that radio off. I've got it up on 7 and about 50% on the wire, so we'll see how we go. Wish me luck. Obviously all you're going to see is a load of flashing, but what we're after is that nice sort of frying sausages sort of noise. So let's see how we go. Okay, so the reason I stopped then straight away, I made the stupid mistake that everybody makes, you mustn't do it. I left the mask on the grinder selection, so all it does is gives you a little bit of darkening, if you like. So yeah, this on the side of here, put it on for grinding, which is where I use for plasma cutting, and then I wind it up to the 60 for grinding, for welding. So sorry, 09, it's not 60, it's 09 that we're talking about. Let's get this stupid face mask off. So let's grab in fact I'll grab a clean wire brush, not something I've used for dirty stuff. I'll just give this a quick clean off. You can see we've got a bit of spatter around it. I think the wire speed is slightly too high, so I'm going to bring the wire speed down a touch, just a touch. And I would normally cover this in anti-spatter spray, but because it's all going to be ground and polished and blended, I'm not going to worry about it too much. So there we can see there's that weld there, which is all right. It's not the prettiest, but the thing is, we're not trying to make a pretty weld, we're trying to make a bloody good weld, and that's the main thing here. So let me go across and do the other side now. Let's try that with the slightly lower wire spatter. In fact, I will put some anti-spatter on here. There we go. That's a water-based anti-spatter paint spray. Better. Obviously with such a high current and such a large amount of weld, yeah, it's slightly sunken now. You can see there, look at it, where is it? Let's look at it close up. You can see it's slightly sunken now, so I'm going to turn that wire speed back up so I get a better feel. I can always slow down. And the reason you see me wandering around from side to side is because I'm gap filling. So what I'm trying to do, I don't just want to go down the middle, I want to actually make sure the edges are taken as well. So let's give this one a go. So you can see what I'm doing. that's much better. If you look there, you can see that's a much nicer weld. It's sort of fairly flush, they've got plenty of penetration. You can see all the discoloration on the inside there, so you've got a good heat affected zone. I think I may have to go over that one again, just so then grind it back because it's undercut slightly. So there we go, I'll just do this other one for you and then we'll call that a day. Because then I've got to do a lot of clean up on these tacks and everything. There we are, as you can see, really nice looking weld. I turned the voltage up slightly on that one, so yeah, we're getting there now. So I'll make a note of that. That's the voltage is on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and the wire is on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'll make a note of that. And there we go. So when I come back to it, I know what to do. Thanks for watching, guys. See you for part 2, where we'll have all this welded up and then I'll grind it all back.